The city of New York buzzed with the relentless energy that could only belong to a metropolis on the brink of history. Skyscrapers pierced the cobalt blue canvas overhead, silent sentinels of concrete and steel presiding over the murmurs of unease that whispered through the gridlocked traffic and bustling streets below. Living amidst this cacophony were two notable individuals, their world a little quieter, yet filled with profound echoes of ancient civilizations. Meet Sophia and Benjamin, scholars of antiquity, a couple bound not only by their love for each other but also by their shared fascination with the enigma of ancient civilizations. Both were considered luminaries in their field, their reputation built on the decoding of obscure, hitherto unreadable manuscripts. Their apartment, overlooking Central Park, was a hodgepodge of scholarly clutter, shelves brimming with books, walls adorned with maps, and tables littered with artifacts. In the world beyond their sanctum of archaeological mysteries, diplomatic tensions were growing. The media buzzed with disconcerting news of the USA, Russia, and now China, teetering on the brink of what could be a devastating conflict, threatening to shatter the fragile peace. Despite the world's escalating political climate, within their home, Sophia and Benjamin were drawn into an entirely different, ancient reality. Their primary concern was not the modern day's brewing storm but the cryptic messages etched into the age-old stones of the Nazca civilization of South America. Caught between the immediacy of present-day crises and the enigma of past civilizations, they continued their delicate work, their hands gently navigating the weathered etchings. These scholars were about to unearth a revelation from a bygone era, one that held consequences for their era too. Unfazed by the looming threats of global upheaval, their focus remained tethered to the millennia-old artifacts, holding on to the wisdom from the past as their guide through the precarious present. They were a study in contrast. Sophia, fiery and impatient, her coffee eyes sparkling with an insatiable curiosity, was the perfect foil to Benjamin's calm and methodical demeanor. The air between them hummed with the anticipation of scholarly pursuit, their minds tethered to a world that had ceased to exist but left whispers of its tales in the form of cryptic etchings on stones. Their life was one of perpetual discovery, a waltz between the enigma of ancient civilizations and the puzzle that was the present world. As night fell on another day in New York City, they found themselves on the brink of another deciphering journey, little knowing that this one was unlike any other they had embarked on before. The stone tablets were an enigma wrapped in mystery. Peculiar symbols and signs, faded with the passage of time yet potent with meaning, were etched onto their surface. The Nazca civilization, known for its monumental geoglyphs, had crafted these, hiding within them secrets as old as the civilization itself. As Sophia and Benjamin's eyes danced over the cryptic patterns, they felt a tingle of thrill, an academic high that only a new discovery could induce.
What do you think, Ben?
Sophia asked, her voice vibrating with the excitement that was mirrored in her gaze. Benjamin, his eyes never leaving the stone, paused before answering, collecting his thoughts.
I believe we are looking at legends, Sophia, ancient narratives that could potentially offer a new perspective on the Nazca's history.
Sophia leaned in closer, her eyebrows furrowed in thought.
But could there be more, Ben? The complexity of these inscriptions, they seem to hint at something more profound, don't you think?
He glanced at Sophia, appreciation glinting in his eyes.
Always the optimist, aren't you? Yes, it is a distinct possibility, one that we must explore. The depth of these narratives often lies between the lines.
Sophia laughed softly, her hand briefly touching his.
And that's why we make such a great team. You, with your analytical mind, and me, ever hopeful of hidden depths.
In the days that followed, they engaged in a furious race against their own intellect, spending hours poring over the ancient text, cross-referencing it with various resources, interpreting and reinterpreting. They engaged in passionate debates and contemplative discussions, their exchanges adding layers to their understanding. The world outside was forgotten, the escalating global tensions reduced to mere background noise. The breakthrough came on an otherwise nondescript afternoon. Benjamin, staring at the tablet, suddenly gasped. Sophia, her eyebrows furrowed in concentration, looked up from her notes. The silence between them was punctuated by Benjamin's heart pounding like a timpani in his chest.
This isn't just a legend.
Benjamin stammered, his gaze fixed on the tablet. He could feel his heart pounding against his ribcage.
Sophia, listen to this. They speak of a dark dragon, a celestial destroyer.
Sophia glanced at him, her eyes wide.
A dragon? Benjamin, that's absurd. Dragons they're mythical creatures, aren't they?
But listen.
Benjamin interrupted, his voice shaky with the gravity of the information he was about to share. He read aloud, translating directly from the ancient script.
It is written, from the cosmic sea, the dark dragon descends, wreathing civilizations in its destructive shadow.
Sophia's eyes widened in disbelief.
From the cosmic sea, you mean space? This dragon, it comes from the sky? Are you saying?
Benjamin nodded solemnly.
Yes, it's not of this earth. It's extraterrestrial.
A stunned silence settled between them, the room echoing the quiet buzz of the city outside. They were each grappling with the enormity of the claim that the ancient text seemed to be making, a reality far more startling than they could have ever imagined. Meanwhile, beyond the confines of their apartment, the world was gradually spiraling towards chaos. The mounting pressure between USA and Russia was threatening to erupt, and the international media was filled with constant reports of the impending crisis. However, the impending cataclysm and the grave discovery they had made within the cryptic symbols of a lost civilization were not two separate events, as they initially seemed. Unbeknownst to Sophia and Benjamin, they were about to find themselves at the heart of a cosmic intertwining of ancient prophecies and modern realities. The stillness that fell upon the room was almost palpable, broken only by the distant hum of New York City's relentless rhythm seeping through the half-open window. The echo of Benjamin's declaration hung in the air, as though it too was trying to find its footing in the heavy silence. Sophia sat stock-still, her gaze unblinking and riveted on Benjamin, a sheen of perspiration on her forehead despite the cool evening breeze. She swallowed hard, her throat dry, the words barely making it past her lips.
Ben, are you suggesting that this dragon is an extraterrestrial entity?
Benjamin, his mind still racing to wrap itself around the revelation, took a deep, steadying breath. He pressed his eyes shut momentarily, hoping to summon some semblance of composure.
That's what the text suggests, Sophia. The language, the symbols, they all point to the dragon being not just a creature, but a harbinger of doom.
His voice, despite the trembling undertone, held a certain gravitas.
It's described as a celestial force that was known to annihilate entire civilizations.
Suddenly, the coziness of their apartment, filled with antiquarian treasures and old-world charm, felt claustrophobic. Their world, nestled between weathered pages and ancient artifacts, felt too small, too transient. The city outside, in all its modern glory, seemed to pale before the age-old prophecy they had just deciphered.
But Ben,
Sophia interjected, her voice low yet intense.
how do we know these aren't just allegories? Ancient cultures were known to represent natural disasters as mythical creatures. Could this not be a metaphor for, say, a destructive comet or a cataclysmic event?
Benjamin nodded thoughtfully.
An astute point, Sophia. But consider this.
He gestured at the tablet.
The specific reference to the dragon's origin from the cosmic sea and its propensity to read civilizations in its destructive shadow align too precisely with our understanding of destructive extraterrestrial forces. This can't be a mere coincidence.
An unsettling question slowly unfurled in the air between them, its implications too colossal to articulate. Could this dragon, this celestial entity, be the missing piece in the Fermi paradox? Could it be the explanation for the conspicuous silence from the cosmos despite the high probability estimates for the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations? For weeks, they labored over the texts, cross-referencing them with other ancient civilizations' texts, piecing together a tapestry of ancient wisdom and cosmic threats. Among their findings, a discovery about ancient Greek texts left them even more disturbed. Not only did these texts speak of a dragon, but they also suggested a psychological manipulation ability it possessed. It could provoke hostility among men, incite them to war, and collapse civilizations without even engaging in the destruction itself. As they dove deeper into their research, they noticed an unsettling parallel. The world outside their apartment, teetering on the brink of a colossal war, mirrored the scenarios described in the ancient texts. It was as if the dragon was already exerting its influence, sowing seeds of discord among men. Despite the gravity of their findings, they found themselves facing a wall of disbelief among their peers. Colleagues laughed off their interpretations, considering them a fanciful product of overworked minds. The government and military, preoccupied with geopolitical tension, also dismissed their claims. The world seemed deaf to their warnings, blind to the cosmic threat looming over its existence. It was in these moments of helplessness and frustration that they clung to each other. Sophia would often find herself taking Benjamin's hand, a silent affirmation of their shared burden. They were alone in their discovery, a knowledge that bound them together even more. As the city's nights grew darker, so did their apprehension, the foreboding texts casting long, ominous shadows over their lives. The alien menace remained a looming specter, its weight pressing down upon them. The stone tablets, once a source of intrigue, had now become harbingers of a calamity that no one but them seemed to comprehend. Still, the world outside their apartment buzzed in blissful ignorance, oblivious to the impending doom. Every day, Sophia and Benjamin would huddle together, their eyes poring over the ancient texts, their minds racing to find a solution, a strategy to combat the cosmic menace. Desperation began to seep into their veins, adding a frantic edge to their research. Meanwhile, the diplomatic pressure cooker between the USA and Russia neared a boiling point. The media broadcast an escalating chorus of vitriol, suspicion, and fear. The world seemed poised on the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the abyss of a cataclysmic war. Then, in a chilling twist of fate, the dragon appeared. It was as though a nightmare had descended upon the world, its dark wings casting a monstrous shadow over cities, its piercing eyes reflecting the panic-stricken faces of humanity. Towers of steel and glass shattered under its immense form, roads cracked, and lives extinguished under its destructive power. The world's militaries attempted to retaliate, unleashing a storm of firepower, but to no avail. The dragon, with a monstrous presence that seemed impervious to earthly weapons, continued its path of destruction. Amidst the global chaos, Sophia and Benjamin were summoned by the government. They were whisked away from their quiet apartment to a room buzzing with anxious energy and filled with military personnel and high-ranking officials. The somber atmosphere was thick with fear and desperation.
Dr. Benjamin, Dr. Sophia,
began the Secretary of Defense, a stern and imposing figure seated at the head of the long, polished mahogany table. The tension in the room was palpable, thick as fog, heavy with the uncertainty of the catastrophe outside.
we are in a situation that's unprecedented. Our intelligence suggests this creature could be a weapon from China or Russia.
Sophia shook her head, her hands clasped tightly on her lap.
No, Secretary, it's not a weapon from another country.
She responded firmly, her voice echoing around the room.
It's the dragon from the ancient texts we'd been studying.
A murmur of skepticism rippled through the room, punctuated by incredulous stares and suppressed laughter. The representatives of the country's defense system, usually so assured, found themselves battling disbelief. Undeterred, Benjamin intervened, opening the briefcase they had brought with them. He produced the tablet replicas, the intricate carvings whispering of an ancient doom.
Look at these.
He commanded, placing them on the table.
These are copies of the Nazca tablets we have been studying. They tell of a celestial dragon, a creature from the cosmos, capable of untold destruction.
The room fell into an uneasy silence as they examined the tablets, their expressions shifting from dismissive to contemplative. The tablets bore the intricate drawings of the celestial dragon, its form detailed with frightening precision.
See this symbol here?
Benjamin pointed to a specific mark on one of the tablets.
This is the dragon, the destroyer. And these?
He indicated a series of symbols that depicted chaos and destruction.
Represent civilizations in ruins. The Nazca were not creating fables. They were issuing a warning, a prophecy of what we are witnessing now.
But why would China or Russia not claim responsibility if it was a weapon?
One official questioned, his brow furrowed in thought. Sophia leaned forward, her gaze unwavering and firm.
Because it isn't a weapon of theirs.
She stated emphatically, her voice resonating with conviction.
This dragon, it's not a myth, nor a weapon crafted by human hands. It's an extraterrestrial entity, an alien life form with intelligence far beyond our comprehension.
She continued, her words hanging heavily in the tense atmosphere of the room.
This creature has a strategy. Its power lies not just in its physical destruction, but also in its ability to manipulate, to sow discord. It wants us to believe it's an act of war from another country. It wants us to retaliate, to engage in conflict, to ignite a nuclear war.
Sophia paused, allowing the gravity of her words to sink in.
If we fall into this trap, if we engage in conflict, we will be doing exactly what the dragon wants. We will be wielding the weapons of our own destruction, annihilating ourselves. And the dragon, it will just be a spectator to our self-inflicted doom.
This revelation left the room stunned into silence. The couple prepared themselves for a lengthy debate, ready to convince the government officials that the true enemy was not a foreign country, but a cosmic creature of destruction that thrived on division and strife, eager to see humanity annihilate itself. The room echoed with disbelief. Yet, amidst the skepticism, the gravity of the situation began to sink in. Here was an enemy that couldn't be defeated with conventional warfare, an enemy that turned nations against each other and reveled in their mutual destruction. Slowly, a plan began to form. They reasoned that if the dragon was invulnerable to conventional weapons, perhaps it could be injured by an enormous nuclear onslaught. Sophia and Benjamin pleaded with the government officials to seek cooperation from Russia, China, and Europe to orchestrate a coordinated global strike.
We must set aside our differences.
Benjamin urged.
We need to unite against this common enemy. It is humanity's fight, not one nation against the other.
Simultaneously, in the world outside, people started succumbing to the dragon's psychological manipulation. As if in a trance, humanity fell into a state of hysteria, chaos ensued, and skirmishes erupted, the undercurrent of hate fanned by the dragon's unseen influence. As the world plunged deeper into chaos, the powers that be, once bitter rivals, started reaching out to each other. Fear had made allies out of adversaries. Guided by the unprecedented findings of two ignored scholars, they commenced devising a strategy that could be humanity's only chance against the impending doom. Meanwhile, Sophia and Benjamin, having stirred the wheels of global cooperation, found themselves in the eye of the storm, their hearts heavy with the weight of the world, their spirits buoyed by the faint glimmer of hope that perhaps humanity could survive this cosmic terror. In the subsequent days, the world bore witness to an unprecedented scene. Nations that had been on the brink of war now sat across negotiation tables, their differences dwarfed by the shadow of the extraterrestrial menace. Sophia and Benjamin found themselves in the midst of this global cooperation, their warnings finally heeded, their expertise now crucial. The dragon, a massive celestial creature, oblivious to these human efforts, continued its trail of devastation. Cities turned into graveyards of steel and concrete, skies were filled with the acrid smoke of destruction, and humanity reeled under the onslaught. Back in the high-security command center, plans were being forged. The world's major powers, USA, Russia, China, and Europe, strategized to draw the dragon towards the ocean. The vast, uninhabited expanses of water were chosen to minimize human casualties from the inevitable nuclear fallout. Their plan, a coordinated assault involving the launch of over 500 nuclear missiles to wound the formidable creature. The stakes were immense, and the plan fraught with risk. But as Benjamin looked around the room, he saw not fear, but determination in the eyes of the officials. He felt Sophia's hand lightly squeeze his, a silent echo of the sentiment. As the scholars waged their battle of reason in the government's halls, outside, the dragon's pernicious influence continued to exert its effect, plunging humanity into chaos. Riots erupted as a madness-inducing contagion seemed to spread amongst the populace, fear and anger driving them to unthinkable actions. Communities, once peaceful and united, turned against each other in a disturbing spectacle of distrust and violence. It was as if humanity, under the shadow of this external, alien threat, was fast becoming its own worst enemy. The dragon, this extraterrestrial creature of destruction, was leveraging its manipulative prowess to drive humanity towards self-annihilation. It wasn't merely wreaking havoc through its monstrous physical presence. It was also creating an atmosphere of division and conflict, manipulating human emotions to incite violence. It was the embodiment of a twisted form of Darwinian principle, pitting humans against one another to ensure its own survival. The dragon wasn't just an invader. It was a catalyst, an agent that triggered a catastrophic chain reaction, setting the stage for humanity's downfall in an ironic act of natural selection, a struggle for survival where the fittest was not a species, but a solitary, destructive entity. The dragon wasn't just hunting humanity, it was inducing humanity to hunt itself. Despite this, there was a strange unity forming at the highest levels of governments, a testament to humanity's capacity to unite in the face of a common enemy. Sophia and Benjamin, once lone voices in a crowd of skeptics, were now at the heart of this global effort, their research serving as the compass guiding mankind in this unprecedented battle. As the world braced itself for the confrontation, Sophia and Benjamin stood on the precipice of the unknown, their hearts filled with apprehension, their spirits resilient. Amidst the looming dread, there was a strange calm, the quiet before the storm. Little did they know that the culmination of their efforts was near, and the world was about to witness an event of cosmic proportions. The day of the confrontation arrived. The world held its breath as preparations were made for the global offensive. The sky, once a vast expanse of blue, now filled with the dragon's intimidating silhouette. In the command center, Sophia and Benjamin watched the live feed of the dragon circling high above the Atlantic Ocean, its enormous shadow cloaking the azure waters below. Around them, military personnel buzzed with a mix of anxiety and determination, their actions perfectly orchestrated despite the palpable tension. Over the radio, a voice broke through.
All units, stand by. On my mark.
A moment of silence followed, a sharp intake of collective breath. Then,
fire!
From submarines lurking in the depths of the ocean, from silos concealed within the seemingly innocuous landscapes, missiles were launched, streaking across the sky in a blaze of determined vengeance. They traced a shared trajectory, a course meticulously calculated and directed towards the ominous figure dominating the horizon. A constellation of land and sea-launched firepower roared towards the celestial menace, a unified response from a world on the brink. It was humanity's combined rage, their shared fear, their collective hope, encapsulated in hundreds of searing trails streaking towards the sky-dwelling alien terror. The dragon, seemingly oblivious to the incoming assault, continued its languid flight. Then, as the missiles closed in, it let out a roar that resonated across the globe, an echo of defiance in the face of impending harm. The world watched in horror and hope as the missiles hit the dragon, erupting in a blinding flash. The sky was consumed by an expanding ball of fire and smoke, a cataclysmic spectacle that seemed to shroud the earth in a momentary dusk. As the light faded, eyes strained to see through the lingering smoke. The collective heart of humanity skipped a beat, a silence of anticipation hung in the air. And then, a sight that elicited gasps around the globe, the dragon, wounded and screeching in pain, retreating into the cosmos. The command center erupted in a cheer of relief and victory. Sophia and Benjamin embraced, their bodies shaking from the adrenaline and emotion. The plan had worked. The dragon, the celestial doombringer, was retreating. Yet, amid the celebration, they knew that the victory was temporary. The dragon was not defeated, merely driven away. As relief washed over them, so did a sobering realization: the dragon would return. This was not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. In the aftermath of the confrontation, the world was irrevocably changed. The sense of imminent doom that had hung heavy in the air began to lift, replaced by a collective sigh of relief. The dragon, the harbinger of destruction, was gone, leaving behind a wounded world nursing its scars. In the weeks that followed, Sophia and Benjamin became the face of human resilience, their story echoing in every corner of the globe. Honors and accolades poured in from nations they had helped unite, their research now etched into the annals of human history. Yet the taste of victory was bittersweet. They knew the peace was temporary, and the dragon would return. Meanwhile, the world began the process of healing and rebuilding. In the absence of the dragon's influence, the madness-induced frenzy ebbed, giving way to an uneasy calm. Humanity was now aware of its fragility, and the celestial threat that loomed beyond their skies. This newfound awareness led to a shift in global politics. Nations that had been on the brink of war started prioritizing peace treaties and disarmament. The major powers, USA, Russia, China, and Europe, upheld their unprecedented unity, their collective focus now on preparing for the dragon's return. Research into advanced defense systems began in earnest, with scientists worldwide pooling their resources and expertise. Ancient texts were re-examined, their every word scrutinized for information that could aid humanity in its next encounter with the dragon. In this endeavor, Sophia and Benjamin served as guides, their scholarly insights invaluable in the quest for survival. Navigating the fallout of their cosmic confrontation, Sophia and Benjamin found solace in each other's company, their bond deepened by the trials they'd weathered together. They were no longer just scholars, but diplomats and public figures whose voices echoed hope across a world shaken by an extraterrestrial threat. Guided by their unwavering faith in humanity's resilience and the transformative power of unity, they embraced their roles, resolute in their belief that together, humanity could rise against any challenge, even the return of the celestial dragon.